Good day, everyone. This is Sonia Sukesh of Chempaka International, ready to report global news for this week. 10-day quarantine for UK visitors in India. 10-day quarantine for UK visitors in India's tit-for-tat move. Described as discriminatory and even colonialist, the UK government has faced intense backlash over its refusal to recognize visitors as vaccinated unless they receive their shots in a handful of selected countries. New Delhi responds by saying that all British citizens arriving in India from Monday will face a mandatory 10-day quarantine, irrespective of vaccination status. Sources in the government have said that in a reciprocal measure over the UK's highly controversial similar rules for residents of several countries, including India. India's Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringal calls the rules discriminatory and warned that reciprocal action may be warranted. The UK adjusted its policy to include the Covishield shot, widely used in India, as an approved vaccine, but India still isn't on the list of acceptable places to receive a dose. As a result, people who receive Covishield in the UK count as vaccinated, whilst those who got it in India do not. At high-level UN meet, world leaders thanked India for COVID-19 vaccine shipments. Several world leaders expressed their gratitude to India and other nations for the help provided through exports of vaccines and other critical medical supplies in their national statement at the 76th UNGA Sessions General Debate that ran through September. India has exported over 66 million vaccine doses to nearly 100 countries through grants, commercial shipments, and the COVAX facility. On behalf of the Caribbean, I thank the government of the Republic of India for their early and meaningful gift of Covishield AstraZeneca vaccines, says the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves. Qatar's first legislative polls. What to expect from Shura vote. The first legislative election will see native Qatari citizens elect 30 candidates of the 45 members of the Shura Council, in a landmark step towards a more representative system of governance. Qatar is gearing up for the first legislative election in its history, in what analysts have called a step towards enhancing political participation for citizens in the Gulf state. Even though political parties are banned in Qatar, citizens are allowed to vote in municipal elections. New Zealand on Thursday, September 30th, 2021, passed a new security law to criminalize preparing a terror attack, tightening a loophole that was exposed by a man who went to conduct a mass stabbing in the country's most populated city. New Zealand has for months been moving to strengthen its security law amid heightened fears of lone wolf terror attacks. But the new law was rushed through its parliament after Atil Mohammed Samsudeen stabbed and wounded 7 people in a market in Auckland earlier this month. Syria on high agenda as Putin and Erdogan meet in Sochi. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan have concluded talks aimed at strengthening bilateral ties and addressing regional security issues, including the situation in war-torn Syria. In a warm post-negotiation exchange, Putin thanked Erdogan and called the visit useful and informative. Russia and Turkey have historically had complex relations, balancing regional rivalries with finding common ground on economic and strategic interests. In recent years, they have clashed over a number of issues, particularly Syria. Russia is the main ally of the Syrian government, while Turkey support groups have fought to unseat President Bashar al-Assad. However, Russian and Turkish troops have cooperated in Idlib, the final holdout of rebel forces, after they brokered a ceasefire deal for the northwestern region last year. The agreement halted a 3-month Syrian government offense that killed hundreds of civilians and displaced nearly 1 million people. As he sat down with Erdogan on Wednesday, Putin pointed out that relations between the two countries continue to develop positively. Australian borders to reopen for the first time in pandemic. Since March 2020, Australia has had some of the world's strictest border rules, even banning its own people from leaving the country. Though travel would not immediately be open to foreigners, the government said it was working towards welcoming tourists back to our shores. At present, people can leave Australia, which has recorded more than 107,000 cases of COVID-19 and just over 1,300 deaths. Only for the exceptional reasons such as essential work or visiting a dying relative. Entry is permitted for citizens and others with exemptions, but there are tight caps on arrival numbers. This has left tens of thousands stranded overseas. The policy has been praised for helping to suppress COVID, but it has also controversially separated families. Airlines have already said they're not ready for ramping up of services this reopening will require. And with so many details still vague in terms of restrictions and proof of vaccination, this could be a potential headache for border authorities too. So, as a precaution, unvaccinated travelers must still be quarantined for 14 days in hotels. What we're seeing now with this announcement of borders being reopened is akin to Australia re-entering the world, and it is long overdue, says Tim Soutphommasane, an academic and former Australian Race Discrimination Commissioner. Female Afghan judges hunted by the murderers they convicted. They were trailblazers of women's rights in Afghanistan. They were the staunch defenders of the law, seeking justice for their country's most marginalized. But now, more than 220 female Afghan judges are in hiding due to fear of retribution under the Taliban rule. 6 former female judges spoke to the news station from secret locations across Afghanistan. Speaking to 6 former judges from different provinces, the testimonies of the past 5 weeks were almost identical. All have received death threats from members of the Taliban whom they previously committed to prison. 4 named specific men who they sentenced for murdering their wives. All have changed their phone numbers at least once due to receiving death threats. All 6 judges say they are currently looking for a way out. But not only do they lack access to funds, they say not all members of their immediate families have passports. Until then, they are all currently living in hiding, moving locations every few days. And this marks the end of the world news. This is Sonia Sukesh signing off, and we shall see you next week. Have a good day.